Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Nashville Super Speedway, where tonight the stars and cars of the grid rival ESRA INDYCAR series are get ready to take on a 150-lap feature event. My name is Chris Graham with the National Racing Network. It's a pleasure to have everybody hanging out with us here this evening. Alongside me tonight, Patrick Byrne. And I'll tell you what here, Bizzle. IR18's Nashville Super Speedway, this place is going to be very quick, but it's going to be very hard on equipment.
Oh yeah, this track is bumpy, it's rough, and IndyCar hasn't visited here in a very, very long time, have they?
No, not in the real world. It's been a long, long time since they've run at Nashville Super Speedway. Many, many years ago, we'll say it that way. Dating back to the crap wagon days, in fact, I think was the last time that they were down there.
I was gonna say, I think it's like 2003, 2004.
Yeah, probably pretty close on that one. So before we get ready to roll into qualifications here, let's take a look at the point standings, or at least recap them for you. Matt Wagner, currently on the strength of 2 wins, is your points leader, sitting on 308 points. James Watson, second in points, 31 markers back on 277. J.W. Miller going to be third in points, 45 behind. And you pick up Craig Forsyth in fourth. He was the big mover after the race 1 week ago, up 6 positions in the point standings on the strength of his second win of the season. And I'm sorry, Forsyth only with 1 win. But he's still 102 points back. That's a ton of ground to try to recover at the halfway point, especially when your fields start to thin out a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's got a hope on Matt Wagner missing out on a couple races and getting wrecked out of a couple more, and really just Matt Wagner not finishing the rest of the season.
Basically, yeah, that's kind of where Craig Forsyth is. Definitely down to a 3-horse race here as qualifications getting ready to get underway. And Alec Coates going to be your quickest so far at a 22.945 second lap. Cullen, Johnston, Lee Huber, and Varloose going to be 4 cars that have qualified. New quick time, Vic Aldridge, 22.9 seconds. Blisteringly fast lap. One of the big differences here in qualifying, though, Patrick, and we see it right there, spinning across the start-finish line. Believe that was Cullen Johnston. Yeah, it was. That lap is not going to score, so Cullen's going to have to sit on his best time. That's going to drop him all the way down to 5th here as TJ McMurray moves up to 4th quick at a 22.984. Picking up James Watson as he starts to work lap number 1. James, very quick in practice. He's been good all season thus far. Going to be an interesting one to watch here. Now, you talked about Craig Forsyth needing some help from Matt Wagner. Well, guess what? Matt Wagner not in this race here tonight.
No, that's
a little bit of a surprise. Now, they do have drop weeks available and some of those sorts of things. So, or at least I think they have drop weeks anyway. So James Watson going to move up to 3rd quick with his second lap, 22.934 seconds, 22.934. Picking up Craig Forsyth as he has just completed his run, 22.956 will be the lap time for the 72. TeamLMCgear.com entry, but with a name like Craig Forsyth, you're going to have the players' colors on the side of that one, and qualifications should be wrapped up here. We are going to get ready to go racing. 150 laps the distance. We're hearing anywhere from 35 to 42 laps is what the number is going to be on a tank of fuel. Tells me you're going to be at least a 3-stop race here, Patrick. But the other big thing that's going to come into play is that you have to consider tires. So if you get a chance, you're going to be coming down pit road for tires.
Oh, absolutely. This track is abrasive. I don't think they've run a major touring series in this track in a while up until recently. So it's going to be very, very tough to just keep the rubber on those tires. They're going to wear down quickly, and you're going to see a lot of cars, I think, either plowing into the wall or spinning right around on you going along that tri-oval.
Yeah, we're here. Taking a look where things are going to go from here for the rest of the season for the Grid Rival Ezra IndyCar series. And we've already had a lot of really fun races coming up. Next week, we head off to Michigan International Speedway for the Michigan 200. The Kansas Roval following 2 weeks after that. Then we get a couple of weeks off for Christmas and New Year's before we come back to round out the season at Dover, Road America, and the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. I tell you what here, Patrick, this kind of schedule late, a lot of super speedways, a lot of very fast racetracks, and then a unique challenge in the Kansas Roval, one of the fastest rovals on the iRacing platform.
I was gonna say I love the Kansas Roval. That might be a week you'll see me in one of these cars because Kansas is. I don't even want to call it a roval, but I have to. There's only one right turn on that oval. You come down turn one, take a hard left, just diving into the infield, big long straightaway going down. You make a right turn, hairpin, just come back the way you came, and make a big sweeping left back onto the oval and complete the lap like it's an oval. It, it's a very tough, challenging track just because most of your time is on the oval, so you want it to go faster there. But right through that little right hand hairpin, it gets very, very slick, very slidey. It's a first gear corner, and there's going to be some big wrecks happening there.
Yeah, that one is going to be an adventure for sure. Well, the cars are out on the starting grid. Let's take a look at the starting lineup here for tonight's race. Vic Aldridge and Navarre Luce going to occupy row number one. James Watson and Alec Coates on row number two. Craig Forsyth, TJ McMurray on row three. Cullen Johnston and Lee Huber on row number four. Row number five, we'll see Ty Richter and Matt Wagner getting into qualifying late here for this one. Joseph Morales and Jim Brooks on row number six. All alone in row number seven will be Jeff Destino. Typically, we see that happen in the Grid Rival Ezra IndyCar series when drivers have an EOL penalty, something's gone on, they're a little bit late to the session. They'll elect not to take time in qualifying. That really is going to hurt you tonight, though, because with how difficult it sounds like it could be to pass, it's just all that much more work to try to get yourself towards the front.
Oh, absolutely. And even if I had an EOL penalty or anything, I still think it's worth it to go out there and set a qualifying lap, try and get that extra point for setting the top time in qualifying. Or at least deny someone else from getting that point.
You know what? The other big part of that as well is your pit stall selection. If you qualify on the pole, you're going to get that number one pit stall. By not taking a time, you're burying yourself halfway down pit lane. It might not sound like much, but depending on where the pit outline sits, you could accelerate straight through the end of that line without having to worry about the pit road speeding penalty on the way out.
Yeah, and you can also dive down underneath someone, and green flag pit stops, you can force them to run wide on the track or have to hit their brakes so they can avoid a penalty. I mean, it's the best spot you can pick on pit road.
Seeing a little bit of a connection issue here for Navarre Luce, and I would imagine there, Bizzle, as we're going to get ready to go green flag racing, about the worst thing you want to see happening is a guy starting up towards the front of the field at a big fast oval like this, blinking out like crazy.
Yeah, you don't want to try and pass a car that's blinking like that because you don't know if they're going to reappear an inch next to you right where you're trying to go, and it could cause a big pileup.
Pace car is in, and as always, race fans, the start of the Grid Rival Ezra IndyCar series is going to be all yours. Y'all can go ahead and crank it up. One lap very quickly in the books, and it's going to be Vic Aldridge grabbing the early lead over Craig Forsyth, James Watson, Cullen Johnston, and Ty Richter. Tightest battle right now is going to be between Watson and Richter. Slide a little bit further A little bit deeper back in the pack here. Man, again, seeing big-time connection issues there for Navarre Luce. Matt Wagner up on the outside, battling with Lee Huber down towards turn number 1. Aldridge sets the fastest lap of the race. We'll keep an eye on the connection issues here for Navarre Luce, because the other big worry you have here, Patrick, is netcode. That's really when the netcode can jump in and screw you up.
Absolutely. Especially at a track like this, you're running so fast and really so close to each other. You have someone blinking like that, the simulator almost believes their car is twice as big as it's trying to predict where that car's going to be. And it can screw you. There can be phantom contact where, you know, nothing happens, you just get a little X on your screen and it's fine. Or it can absolutely toast your car and you've done absolutely nothing wrong.
Yeah, in the worst case scenario, you're launched off into orbit somewhere because of the reappearing race car. Vic Aldridge continuing to hold on to the lead here at the front of the field. Call the gap about, well, we'll say 1.4 seconds or so over Craig Forsyth. James Watson, Cullen, Johnston, Ty Richter, your top 5. With a little bit lighter of a field like this, Patrick, I would imagine you have to start doing some early mental gymnastics on what your fuel levels are going to look like, when you may want to start factoring in pit strategy.
I would start factoring it in now. I would start working backwards this race, start with trying to end with just a gallon left of fuel at lap 150. Just because I don't expect to see a whole lot of cautions around the speedway, just due to the small field we have tonight.
Yeah, I mean, doing kind of the spitball back of the napkin math, if we go fully green, could potentially be as early as lap 30, that pit window could open. However, that's going to get you to lap number 150 only. That doesn't factor in the potential for the green-white checkered finish. So probably a little bit further towards, there may not be much fuel saving you can do if you have to get to 40 laps to even make it a three-stop race anyway.
Yeah, at that point, I would just say run it till the tank runs empty and just fill it all the way back up with fuel, and that gives you your safety factor. Nice, easy math for tonight.
Absolutely, full send is what the number is going to look like here. Already working lap number 9 of 150. Once again, thank you everybody for tuning in here to the National Racing Network's live coverage of the Grid Rival ESRA INDYCAR Series. Patrick and I coming to you from beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana for the PRI show. Looking forward to a lot of content going up on the National Racing Network socials over the next couple of days. Don't want to miss any of that excitement coming up, but still a lot more racing to go here. And I'll tell you what, not really a surprise. The field has settled in, and they're just going to log some laps and really try to be smart.
Yeah, I mean, we have a field of 13 of some of the best IndyCar drivers on the iRacing service. These guys know this race isn't going to be over to lap 150. There's no point sending it down the inside, making big crazy moves. I mean, these two look like they're going for it a little bit, but the other 11 cars on track seem to be taking it nice and easy.
Yeah, everybody playing very nice right now. Ty Richter and Alec Coates. Richter on the outside of the racetrack, Coates down to the inside. Coates going to be able to clear into, or excuse me, Richter able to clear Coates into turn number 1. And right there, just like you see it, as soon as the pass is completed, you're out to 4 or 5 car lengths.
Oh, yeah. I was just about to say, Richter seems to be doing an awesome job. Right when practice opened tonight, it wasn't even a minute or two before he just goes, I hate this track. So, for someone who really doesn't like this speedway, he's making it look easy.
Jim Brooks, Navarre Luce, was the tightest battle on the racetrack. Also, actually, the tighter battle really is the one that's in front between Joseph Morales and Jim Brooks. Morales in that yellow number 10 machine, Brooks, in the 61 for Morales. The 51 of Brooks, the Area 51, that green car just back behind. It is so interesting to see here as the aero push starts to kick in. You're really going to start to struggle with the handling on these cars, and you just watch the gaps expand, contract, expand, contract.
And the aero push just makes everything worse. You got to put a little more wheel into it. The car's going to be wanting to understeer even more. You're going to wear that right front tire even harder, and it's just going to ruin your day. You might need to pit your tires before you do fuel.
Maybe a little bit of an issue here for TJ McMurray is he's fallen back to the 12th position, and he is getting passed by a ton of race cars. Oh, and he's going to almost overshoot the entry to pit road. Gets the car stopped on the grass. He'll back it back up. No caution flag will fly, but TJ McMurray having early issues putting him on the pit lane. He is going to go multiple laps down in the process here. So taking a peek through the leaderboard here, you see it on the left-hand side of your screen, Vic Aldridge, still your race leader, holding on to a 3.2-second advantage over Craig Forsyth. James Watson runs third, Cullen Johnston fourth, Ty Richter your top five. Side-by-side battle. That is the AlphaTauri of Lee Huber battling with Matt Wagner. Actually, no, that's going to be Huber and Alec Coates, excuse me, fighting for position. We don't have our normal timing and scoring monitors available to us here, so the numbers get a little funky looking to us sometimes here. But yeah, good battle thus far between Lee Huber and Alec Coates. Tell you what, Coates' car looks fairly strong here. He was able to catch up to Huber pretty quickly after just completing the pass just a handful of laps ago, a second plus back there.
Yeah, he looks really, really strong in that car, really comfortable in it tonight, really comfortable with this track. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him just start picking them off one by one and making his way towards the front of the field.
And that's something else to consider here, is that this is a fixed setup race. So the drivers are having to work with not necessarily their ideal setup. They're having to work with whatever the league admins have decided is going to be the best setup for everybody.
It's not like a dictatorship, though. They have a bunch of the guys. I know Matt Wagner helps build the setups, and they all get into a session. All the top guys get into a session, and work on building a setup every single week just to make sure it's something that everyone is happy with. Now, some people might be happier with them than others, but everyone's generally all right with them.
That's typically the drawback to the fixed setup type league. As much as the open setup leagues allow for aliens to run their crazy setups and do their alien things, the fixed setups go the other direction. If it's more of a front steer car than a rear steer car, and you like the car to be a rear steer, you're just not going to be fast in that setup. You're adapting your driving style to fit the setup instead of the setup to fit the driving style.
Exactly. It's like anytime I hop in a setup made by Jason Owens, he is one of the fastest guys in the PM18, and I would say I'm decently quick in them too at some of the ovals. I hop in his cars, a little bit of contact right there.
Buddy.
I hop in one of his cars, and I'm 5/6 tenths off his time in the same exact car. So I like the open setups better just because you can tailor them to you, and it's a combination of your skill and your talent in a setup building. As we see him going for it again.
I was going to say, Huber going full send back into turn number 3. We're getting towards the later part of the run now. Lap 25, we've been caution-free to this point. We're going to knock on wood for that one that we stay that way. Caution-free through the first stint. Our history with the Grid Rival ESRA INDYCAR series is we go on board with, I believe that's Ty Richter. The history of these races is if we're clean at the beginning, all hell is going to break loose late in this race.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we only see 5-6 cars end up finishing this race with clean wings on them.
Oh, that makes for a very long night late in this race, that is for sure. So yeah, we'll keep... Yes, keep the cooler full and well stocked. It is going to be interesting, though, to watch that kind of develop over the course of the race of can you make the undercut strategy work? Because if you can stop at lap 30 and make it to the end, does that become a viable option versus trying to run it out to lap 40? All you're doing if you stop at lap number 40 is making that last stint a little bit shorter. So it's a matter of when do you want the speed. If you don't trust that the cautions are going to come, maybe the undercut's the way to go.
Say, there's going to be no cautions. Undercut is absolutely the way to go. Problem is, now we're expecting a forecast of absolute madness at the end of this one. So I wouldn't want to take that strategy and leave yourself with a 2-lap safety factor, and then we get a bunch of green-white checkers. Because then you got to come down the pits, you're going to start at the back of the field, and your chances of winning the race are all over.
The drivers do have 4 extra sets of tires in the pits tonight, so they will be able to take tires on every stop. Where that really becomes kind of the question is, when is the most optimum time to make that stop? You talked about the benefits of the undercut. There is the benefit, though, to trying to stay out, in that you're out of the Paul Tracy danger zone. You don't have to worry about, is the caution going to come out while I'm a lap or 2 down from having made a green flag pit stop? So checking in with Vic Aldridge, our race leader, driving for one of the Team Watson racing teams. I know it's not the main one. Other than that, I have no idea. 2/3 of the field is labeled up in Team Watson racing colors. But Vic having a very good run so far. Vic's kind of seemed like he's a little bit of either very on or very off in this particular season of the Grid Rival ESRA IndyCar Series.
I mean, maybe he has some other obligations, can't practice in this car as much as he really wants to, and sometimes it just clicks with you and you're fast and you're good, and sometimes if you don't get those practice laps in, it can just tear away at you. You'll be real slow, uncomfortable in the car, kind of dancing around with it, trying to just keep it in between the wall and the grass.
Seeing Aldridge putting lap number 33 up on the board, so the window is open. TJ McMurray, Ty Richter, both having made pretty substantial pit stops here. Both of those cars are 2 laps down. Okay, hearing from producer Chad Irvine here, routine service on both of those cars. Only stopped for 8 seconds. You wonder is that Richter trying the extreme undercut? Oh, big time trouble getting onto pit road. That's Navarre Luce. He's going to continue to he's having issues with blinking. He's all over the place. Here's he taking a look here at the instant replay. Oh, he banged it off the outside wall and slid down through the infield, and big time contact into the inside retaining wall.
You know, this time you can park there.
That's correct. Yes. Dynamite drop in there, Monty. So now Navarre Luce still working to get into his pit box, and they do have the backup car available. So Navarre Luce going to be able to, at least I think they have the backup car available. They may not on the ovals. One way or the other, you have that kind of a mistake on pit road, it's kind of night over for you.
It was going to be night over anyway. Just sliding in there, you're going to get the unsafe pit entry. You got to hold in that pit box, I believe it's 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's true. That is a very long penalty. You may get the speeding penalty, too, if you were sliding too far forward at speed.
Yeah, I believe that's going to be night over for him.
Tough break for Navarre Luce, who qualified well, looked pretty good in practice. Then the connection issues starting to raise their ugly head. Taking a look now at Craig Forsyth, who runs in the second position. 6 or so seconds behind. Oh, I'm sorry. 0.6 of a second behind Victor Aldridge. He's closing in. There you see Aldridge getting out towards the front. Is this a little bit of a case here, Patrick, of Forsyth saves the tires? Aldridge didn't, and we're seeing that gap shrink in late in the run.
It could be that, or Aldridge is just trying to save a little bit of fuel. And try and push himself as far as possible. Maybe cut a pit stop out of it. Maybe he's banking on a bunch of cautions later in the race.
Man, that's I say it every week, but it feels like, how do you play the strategy games in your head? Most of these drivers are not running this race with crew chiefs and spotters and, you know, other. You run the Coke series, and there's a whole team of people that are working with that driver. This is one guy who's trying to spitball math in his head while he's turning laps at 220-mile-an-hour corner entry speeds.
I was going to say, that's the one thing that I had to relearn how to do once I switched to VR. Before I raced in VR and raced on the single screen, I would keep a little calculator right on my right leg, and this way I could quickly do very accurate math and figure out just how much fuel and when I should pit and everything. And a lot of these guys I know are in VR, so this has to just be all in their head while they're driving, racing around with other cars on the track. It's a very, very challenging to do, and it's very tough to get that math right.
The interesting thing here is now that we have not seen the gap continue to close. It's holding right about 6-7 tenths of a second here, as we do have cars on pit lane. Alec Coates making his way out and back onto the racetrack.
That gap staying steady might have something to do with the aero push and the worn tires. Just can't suck up to him because every time you go into a corner, it just wants to slide up the racetrack.
And this is also a one of the big challenges here is that you're talking about, with the new update, the drivers have the option of partially hiding the center of the aero screen in this car. So the season, anytime you get the big season updates, it feels like stuff always changes. It's never exactly the way it was before. That's tough because we only saw this update drop on Monday. With the Amazon outage, you basically lost almost an entire day's worth of time in the sim. There was not a lot of time to prep for this one. Seeing the leader on pit road, Vic Aldridge making his way in. Craig Forsyth stays out on the racetrack. Lap number 46.
We have Forsyth, Johnston, and Wagner all still staying out on the racetrack, so looks like Cullen's now coming down in the pits. But I mean, they're hanging these cars out a lot longer than we were predicting.
Man, I thought we about saw the yellow lights blink on there for just a split second. Man, that makes you nervous if you're one of those cars that's now trapped a lap down. With the interesting thing here, though, Patrick, you mentioned cutting an entire pit stop out. My math says if you stop again at you run another 46 lap stint, it's going to get you to lap 92. Another 46 lap stint gets you to 138. You're right in that window of cutting an entire pit stop out. If Craig Forsyth is now in the pits, Matt Wagner staying out on the racetrack. Now Wagner going to come in this time as well at lap number 48.
I was going to say, we get a few timely cautions, and they won't need to make that extra stop.
Bingo. We are right in the window now of this becoming a 3-stop race, if you get a little bit of help.
And that leaves you with an extra set of tires if we go into a green-white checkered.
That would be huge. Seeing Wagner's car up on the jacks is going to promote Vic Aldridge back to the race lead. Trying to get a little bit better look here at the timing and scoring data so we can give you all the best possible options here. Looks like Craig Forsyth is running, again, he's right about, what, 6/8 tenths of a second, is it, Chad? Yeah, so that's it, you're talking less than a second here separating the race leaders. If Vic Aldridge was the plan was to run away and hide at the start of the stint, he's not doing that this time around.
No, I wonder if now he's doing some of that math that we just did and realized if he only gets one caution, he might not make it all the way to the end on the three-stopper. So he might just be hanging way back, just trying to get Forsyth right in his air push and kind of just hold him back a little bit. Save maybe an extra lap or two of fuel.
Well, it's almost the Alain Prost school of race winning. Do the absolute minimum that you have to do to win. Don't go 155 if 150 will do. That could be a little bit here. Keep Forsyth at 6, 7, 8 tenths behind you, and all of a sudden you're in a prime position. All you have to do is hold them off, and you know where that extra speed is in the car.
Yeah, if you know where it is and you can tap into it when you need it, there's no point in using it all the time.
Seeing Navarre Luce and TJ McMurray now both being scored as out of the race. So we're down to 11 cars running on the racetrack right now. McMurray will finish in 12th, Luce in the 13th position. Taking a look at where things stand relative to the points, this is a very big night here potentially for James Watson. Currently sitting third on the racetrack. However, he was 31 points behind Matt Wagner entering tonight's race. 4 spots separating those two drivers. So it's not a huge gap that he's going to make up. He's not going to take all 31 points out tonight. But if this stays right where it is, Watson's going to start nibbling into this just a little bit.
Yeah, and that would be insane to see. James Watson is a very emotional driver. And if he gets that much of a push, just seeing that points gap dwindle away, I think he'll drive a lot faster, and he could secure the championship if he keeps up on this high.
He is very much a motivate him kind of driver.
Yes.
He likes having the whip cracked a little bit. You know, when you're running all by yourself and you can make a mistake, sometimes Watson will be the driver that makes that unforced error. When he's got the rabbit out in front of him, there are very few better in this series than chasing someone down than James Watson.
Oh, yeah. I want to say the only thing Watson needs to work on is just if something bad happens, or something little, it just spirals. That's something that he could work on and get better at, and not let a little bit of contact with the wall end up with tearing the car at bits.
Yeah, don't compound the mistakes.
Yeah.
Is the big one. Let the first one roll off your shoulders, because if you make a second one, your night's going to be over. So running back through the numbers here, we'll have to have producer Chad give us the numbers here. But Vic Aldridge is your race leader by, right about 1 second over Craig Forsyth. James Watson is currently sitting 5-6 seconds back of the race leader in the third position. Lee Huber, Alec Coach, your top 5. They're both 10 seconds or so back of the race leader. So things definitely being pretty chill. And I'll tell you what, this thing could be over in a big-time hurry. We're already approaching the halfway point of this race, and we have not seen a caution flag yet here tonight.
I was gonna say you keep saying that, and we're gonna end up with 15 cautions instead of series record.
Yes, there's the knocking on wood that you're hearing. That is not room service being delivered, by the way. That's not a bad idea, though. Thank you, Chad. Oh, my goodness. So everybody is sitting here pretty comfortably. You see the gaps on the side, left-hand side of your screen. We're following along with Craig Forsyth. He's running second to Vic Aldridge at the front of the field. And, well, quite frankly, we're showing you single cars here because, as you can see by the numbers, there's nobody close to each other. This is about the antithesis of what I thought we were going to see. Maybe a little bit of spreading out just because of some cars are going to be inherently faster than others. We're seeing big gaps between cars.
I was going to say, that's the problem I've seen with the IR18 and the DW12 is they create just such a huge wake behind them. You can't run them close together. I know you like to call it the crap wagon era, but those cars were fantastic on the speedways.
Yes. The update coming in our ear, by the way, last race for the cars here was 2008, so it does predate the DW12. We're seeing it here at the front of the field. The race leader, Vic Aldridge, is not catching up to Joseph Morales by a huge amount here. Where you should be seeing a car that is significantly faster, can make the pass easily, he can't even try to get close to him. So we could see this thing just stay single file, then it becomes about execution, getting on pit road cleanly, not making the mistakes in setting selections and confirming what you want your pit stop to be, and then making that good exit off of pit road as well.
Yeah, don't spin the tires too much, don't take it sideways, and don't bump into another car on pit road. I mean, that's really all it comes down to at this point.
And the question of when does the yellow flag come? That's the other big question mark.
You better keep knocking on that wood because I was going to go with if the caution comes out.
I believe Chad Irvine is building a shed at this point now while also producing back here. They come past that NASCAR signage at the entry to turn 1, and it looks like a cloud of smoke that's going up. Like somebody has lost the back end of the race car. I'm ready to scream for a yellow flag, but we're not going to get it. We're to that perfect lap 69.
Nice.
Nice. 150 laps is the total distance here at Nashville Super Speedway. And we're almost halfway. Not a lot of time has ticked down on this race. 30 minutes or so?
Yeah, it's been a short one.
These guys are flying for sure.
Now, is IndyCar scheduled to return to Nashville?
They will be returning to the streets of Nashville next season.
But not the Super Speedway.
Not the Super Speedway.
That, I was about to say that's a shame, but from what we're seeing here tonight, I mean, I think we're doing the testing for IndyCar. It's real good on paper, but the cars just can't really race here.
You know what? I want the rock block. I want IndyCar on the streets of Nashville, at the Nashville Fairgrounds, and at Nashville Super Speedway, back-to-back weeks.
Oh, God, you couldn't get these cars on the fairgrounds. You'd have to convince all the teams to build a midget car specifically to run the fairgrounds. The problem isn't fitting the cars on the oval necessarily. You can definitely fit 33 of these, 40 of these even, at the short track. The problem is they make so much power and rely on the downforce so much, you would have a 20, 30, 40 car pileup going into turn 1 when nobody can make the corner.
Yes, the complete and utter lack of downforce. Yeah. That's a big deal.
I mean, I would almost
I didn't say it was a good idea. I just said I wanted to see it.
It'd be awesome to see. It's almost like running these at Road Atlanta and then having them jump over to, what is it, Southern National?
Lanier.
Lanier. Having them jump over, just drive them right across the street and do a 100-lapper at Lanier.
Oh, would that be fantastic. And by the way, people stop with the comments of Road Atlanta needs to be on the IndyCar schedule.
Everyone knows it does.
It's a great racetrack, but then, yes, it needs so much in safety improvements that there is not a chance that the IndyCars are going to Road Atlanta, a place that was known in the days of the International Marijuana Smugglers Association as a stash point for the Whittington brothers when they owned the racetrack. We are way deep in the weeds now. There is almost nothing to talk about on track here.
Would you like a beer?
No, I'm good for right now, brother. Thank you, though. So Vic Aldridge holding on to that 8/10 of a second lead over Craig Forsyth. James Watson slowly creeping in, 4.3 seconds. The gap is now down to.
Looks like we just saw Ty Richter coming out of the pits.
Yep, Richter making his second stop, and we can show you that on the timing tower as well. We can show you how many stops that these drivers have made, and also possibly what lap they stopped on as well. But Richter, the first car to have made his second pit stop, coming at lap number 78. That becomes really interesting because you're basically saying 2 stops to get to halfway. You're going to need an additional 2 stops in the second half. You've used up your 4 sets of fresh Firestone tires. The drivers that could go to lap 50 or very close to it may have a set of tires left in the bank at the end of this race. Seeing Lee Huber on pit road as well. Currently only 2 cars being scored 1 lap down. That is Jeff Destino and Ty Richter. Lee Huber will also go a lap down. Yeah, he was way slow getting that car into pit lane. This is a tricky pit entrance here, though, Patrick. It's not like you have the big, long run-in areas where you might enter off of turn 3 like they do. In the real world, they would probably have to enter off at turn 3. Here, we let them enter off at turn 4, and you're full throttle almost to the pit entry line.
We're seeing like Dover or Darlington pit entries where you're just coming right off the racing line, turn the wheel hard left, and just jamming on the brake pedal.
Seeing James Watson on pit road now, so he is the first of the leaders to come in for his second stop, and it's going to be at lap number 81. Again, puts you right back in that kind of four stint window here, 40, 80, 120, and then obviously that'll get you to the finish of this one.
Now, what's interesting is I haven't run this track in an IndyCar yet. The only experience I have at this track is in a Formula V car. In a night race, when the track didn't have lights. So I don't know this track very well, but all I do know is it's bumpy and it's fast.
Yeah, I was just going to say, look at what fresh tires are doing here towards the front of the field. Lee Huber is absolutely tearing his way through the field.
Now, this is giving me other ideas. For those guys who only have to take 3 stops, we get a caution, there's 10 laps to go, and they can take that bank set of tires.
Big hit for Ty Richter into the outside safer barrier. Richter slides it down into the grass. He'll get all the way down to pit lane. Oh, man, grabs the gas. He's going to pull away, and it looks like we will stay under the green.
That was, I would be willing to call that a save.
Save of the year candidate for Ty Richter. The problem is he absolutely pounded the outside safer barrier. And you saw it there. It was in the aero push of the car just ahead. Passing is going to get very, very nasty around this place.
That's like what I was saying. If we get a caution 10 laps to go, some of those guys with the bank set of tires grab that extra set of tires. I want to say they'll have the speed to make it back up to the field. It's just a matter of how many laps do you have that extra speed to make it back up to the field.
Right. It's going to be an interesting one to watch. And it really comes down to how many cars are left and how many of them choose to stay out. That's going to be a very, very big part of this. As Craig Forsyth making his way down pit lane, going to promote Matt Wagner up to second, Cullen Johnston to third, Jim Brooks and Joseph Morales now up inside the top 5, waiting on their second set of pit stops. Kind of surprised here. That's a little bit early. They were able to go to 46 laps. Should have put them to about lap 90 to lap 92. We're seeing the stop here at lap 88. is this Forsyth going away from the three-stop strategy now, seeing how good the tires are?
He could possibly be doing that, but I don't see why you would. I would much rather have that set of tires in the bank. We're going to see these guys get rowdy and start trying stuff or just start pushing too hard and smacking the outside wall. So I would like to have that in the bank and be able to make your way up, especially now there's 6 cars on the lead lap. I mean, effectively 9 cars on the lead lap. With a fresh set of tires and everyone else is on junk, you can make that up in 2-3 laps.
Oh, absolutely. You can really get that car through the field. It's going to be an interesting one to watch here, as I'm trying to see what car that is. Jim Brooks making his way off of pit road. Tell you what, pit lane is dark here.
I was going to say, they added lights to Speedway, but I don't think they added lights to pit lane.
Race leader Vic Aldridge making his way down pit lane for stop number 2. This one coming at lap number 91. We anticipated the stop at lap 92. This is going to put him kind of right in the window here. Now anywhere from lap 137 to, say, lap number 140. Now you're going to make that final stop there, and you're going to have a fresh set of tires and be able to go only 10 or so laps to the end on this one. It actually is an absolutely brilliant strategy call to try to make, this is the example of the overcut working. Jeff Destino now on pit lane. All of these services are going to be for Fresh Firestone, Firehawks, full tank of Speedway Racing fuel. Driver teams looking for about an 8-second pit stop. You're going to definitely lose a lap on pit lane, as the stop is clean down and away. And so far, the other one I'm really surprised with, we have not seen the pit road speeding penalty. Man, that muddy stop is going to be important, though. If you can't make up 0.8 of a second on the racetrack, now you're trying to push and make it up getting onto pit lane. Sketchy at best there.
Oh, yeah. I was also going to say, now I'm just thinking about this from the strategy perspective. You're Matt Wagner. You're pushing your stops this long. If you only have to make the 3-stopper and the caution comes out right after everyone's made their 4th pit stop and the whole field's a lap down, you stay out on that caution and you've trapped the entire field a lap down. Now it's a 2-car race and another caution comes out, you can afford to pit.
Yeah, that's the big one, is do you get caught in the, I mean, you jokingly call it the Paul Tracy danger zone, but the reality is, yeah, you're potentially going to be a couple of laps down if the yellow doesn't fly at the right time. Impressive stint here for Joseph Morales, seeing he is on lap number 48 of this stint. If he can get it to 51, he will be done with pit stops for the night. He would be the first of the cars we've seen making his final pit stop.
That would be impressive. And it looks like there's 4 cars going for it. Is Aldridge on that strategy as well? No.
Yeah. Yes, but here's the big one. James Watson is now ahead of Vic Aldridge on the racetrack. Have we seen Watson make his next stop? Here's race leader Matt Wagner on the pit lane at lap number 98. So this will wrap up the cycle of pit stops. Wagner going to hit his box cleanly. James Watson comes around, as does Craig Forsyth. And I'll tell you what a stint for Forsyth and Watson. Both of those cars coming past former race leader Vic Aldridge. You almost wonder if Aldridge didn't have a either a penalty or an issue coming off pit road or something, because he lost a ton of time. He lost 5 seconds to these cars.
Either that or just scrub the wall a little bit and has a little bit of damage that he had to get fixed, or it's just slowing him down a little bit.
Well, whatever it was, it's now put Craig Forsyth up into the race lead. And he's ahead of James Watson by, looks like, about 4 seconds or so. The strategy games are getting very, very interesting here at this point. We know Forsyth, Watson, Aldridge, they all have to pit again. However, Matt Wagner and Joseph Morales may not need to stop again.
It's effectively a 2-car race if the caution does fly.
I think Jim Brooks making his way back down pit lane. Car goes up on the jack. Looks like maybe it could just be the angle, but almost looks like he was missing the left front side of the wing there. And yeah, there's definitely some repair work getting done as car's already down off the jacks and repair work is underway for the 51 of Jim Brooks.
Now, to be missing that left front side of the wing, that would mean he had to hit another car. You can't take that part of the wing off hitting the wall.
Or having a really wild, like, exit of turn 2 or something and getting all the way down to the inside. But one way or the other, this is going to be a very, very long stop for Jim Brooks. And it will be the end of his night as we pick up your race leader once again here. Craig Forsyth gained 6 positions in the points after our race 1 week ago. Is he going to be able to gain a bunch more this evening? Forsyth only has 5 starts out of 9 in the series thus far this season. All 5 of them are top 5 finishes. So when he's running, he is very, very good. However, he may have to contend with James Watson as that lead looks to be now inside of 3 seconds, down to 2 and change right now.
So Watson is catching him. They both seem to be in pretty clean air right now. So Watson's got the fast car, got the better drive. It's just going to be a matter of can he make up the aero push.
That's going to be the big question. And I almost wonder, do you try to consider some of the setup changes that you can make inside the car and at the pit stops purely to allow yourself to run a different line?
Now, in the fixed setups, you can't even adjust the wings or anything in the pit stop. The only adjustment I think you get is your roll bars, your weight jacker, and the brake bias, which I don't think they're using the brakes here. And that can only help you so much. That's more changing the balance of the car than where it's going to want to run.
So, yeah, you're kind of locked down into everything has to be whatever lane the car is going to be comfortable in is where where you're going to have to run the car.
Yeah, all you're playing with the weight jacker is just, do you want it to push through that line or you want it to spin out in that line?
Jim Brooks getting his car off a pit lane, but once again, not going to be a fun night here for Jim Brooks. Currently in the 11th position, being scored, looks like 5 laps behind race leader Craig Forsyth. James Watson's, he's looking pretty good here. Let's see if we can get an onboard look here from Mr. Watson. And look, it's quite frankly, every time we talk about the guy, he seems to implode here. Pretty interesting, Patrick. We're seeing the downshift to 4th gear in the middle of turns 1 and 2. They're big time out of the throttle here trying to manage.
Oh yeah, they're probably lifting all the way out of it, just trying to keep the car from sliding up in that outside wall. I mean, you could see him hitting the chip in 5th. I'm surprised he didn't go in the 6th there, but I would imagine you just lose so much going in the 6th, it's not worth it. Going
on board with race leader Craig Forsyth and picking up the outside shot now. he's getting hung up in the lap traffic, and we saw this the last time when Vic Aldridge was leading and Forsyth was trying to get caught up. You just couldn't make up any ground. Forsyth doesn't have to work hard to pass the lap cars at this point, but we don't really have anybody that's damaged. However, this lap car in particular is one he desperately wants to get past, and that is Matt Wagner. That would put up to 6th position, one lap down to the race leader.
Matt Wagner is going to fight him. Matt Wagner is on that strategy of 3 stops. Wagner also is a very, very difficult driver to pass to begin with, and when he doesn't want you to pass him, you're not going to get by him. It's going to be a fight.
Yeah, he's the defending champion of the Grid Rival ESRA IndyCar Series for a reason. Very consistent, always at the front of the field. The kind of night where he could potentially get past and go a lap down, those are very few and in between. However, it's pretty clear that he's on that off strategy. He's trying to make it last all the way to the end of the race.
Yes. Another thing I was going to say is maybe he's a little off his game tonight. He was just saying he is on a brand new computer with a brand new VR headset. So what he's seeing coming through his eyes is not what he's used to seeing. So it's a big adjustment to make, and maybe we're seeing the effects of that, him just trying to readjust to it.
Yeah, it's a big change, and especially when you start to factor in some of the other stuff that's going on, like you have the changes in the car, you have the changes in what you're seeing from behind the wheel with the option to remove or at least dim the front of the aero screen. There's a lot of things that have changed for these drivers this week. Toss in an added sim rig change, that's a lot to overcome.
Now, the front of the aero screen in VR is not that bad to deal with. I would almost say leave that on if you're in VR, just because it gives you a mark where the center of the car is, and your eyes will naturally look around it. On a single screen, however, or even triples, I would definitely be removing it. So for a VR driver like Matt, I don't think that change is really that big of an issue for him.
Taking a look here at the battle between Matt Wagner and Cullen Johnston. I'm sorry, Lee Huber, just ahead of Matt Wagner. This is tight and for position, and they're trying to stay ahead of the race leader as well. This is what you don't want to see if you're Craig Forsyth, unless you're content to just sit.
Yeah, I mean, he should be pretty confident that Watson won't be able to get around him either, just because that aero push, and as soon as you get real close to the car in front, as we're seeing him trying to fight with Matt Wagner, just every time you get close, there's that bubble of air that builds up that's no good, not giving you any downforce, and you got to either back right back out of it or keep trying to just slowly crawl away at it until you burn your tires off the car.
So that's basically it. In order to make the pass, you really have to push.
We see James Watson in the pits now.
Watson making what could be his final stop here at lap 121. Inside of 40 to go. That puts you right in the window, and Watson is going to be the shortest of them all. And here comes everybody else down pit lane, with the exception, I believe, of Vic Aldridge. But this could be a huge move. Watson undercutting the field by a lap. That could play some huge dividends here as everybody comes off a pit lane.
Oh, absolutely.
So far, Vic Aldridge, Matt Wagner, the only 2 cars that have not stopped. And Wagner, his last stop was lap 100. Matt Wagner very well could be trying to make this all the way to the end of the race. And at this point, he's trapped just about everybody a lap down. Cullen Johnston has gotten around Craig Forsyth. Now Forsyth back out ahead of Cullen Johnston. That was happening in the exchange of pit stops, basically where everybody was stopped.
I was going to say, I almost feel like Matt Wagner is hoping a pit stop comes out right now, and then he can just go take that free pit and still end up in second place.
Well, at this point, everybody else is going to have to pass him. So he's really in a prime spot, as is Vic Aldridge. So down to 26 laps to go here at the Nashville Super Speedway. What has been a very, very quick Grid Rival ESRA INDYCAR Series race this evening. As it stands right now, only 2 cars are on the lead lap. Where that becomes interesting is even if they have to make a late race splash and dash, they very well could come out ahead of where these cars are anyway. They're not. Victor Aldridge will have to make another pit stop. Even for Matt Wagner, if he tries to make, if he has to take the splash of fuel, where everybody else's final stop was 8 seconds, Matt Wagner's might only be 2 or 3.
Yeah, as the rest of the field has to make up that lap plus that 8 seconds on him. Or 6 seconds if his pit stop's only 2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah, it's a lot of racetrack to make up here.
It's going to be tough to do.
And on the fresher tires, Craig Forsyth, we're hearing now, only making up about 0.2 of a second per lap. You're nowhere close to making up enough time here, down inside of, 20 to go at this point, 30 to go.
Yeah, it's Matt Wagner's race to lose now.
And this is going to be interesting. Vic Aldridge has put lap number 130 up on the scoreboard. That means 21 laps to go. Now down to 20 as Aldridge has come across the lines. Ty Richter down pit road. He's made contact with the outside safer barrier. Get you the Hot Shoe Racewear instant replay on this one. And yeah, you can see that right front is pretty well junked. But again, Patrick, no caution flag.
Working out just perfectly for Matt Wagner. I mean, new set of equipment. Didn't get any laps in practice today. And just by playing the strategy, as we see Ty Richter almost going around, this might bring out the caution. Oh, my apologies.
That was the replay.
Yes, no, I realized that
Good
now.
work there, bud.
I'm used to seeing the big hot shoes thing come up on like that's how I know it's a replay. I thought we were looking at something completely different.
So with the incident for Ty Richter, Jim Brooks will improve slightly up to the 10th position.
It's a top 10 finish.
It's top 10 finish. You know what? We talk about top 10 finishes in the points, and you go, well, there's only 12 cars, 13 cars, whatever. When you run the math, though, oh, man, wow, that was a hot entry to pit lane. Good Lord, who was that? That was Vic Aldridge trying to get on pit road. Oh, my goodness. Drama in Nashville?
No, never. And I believe he's ran through too many pit boxes. Now, iRacing won't give a penalty for that, but that might be a post-race.
Yeah, the league does look at how many pit boxes you run through. Take a look at the replay here and see what happened. Trying to get down to the pit lane speed limiter, and he was just nowhere close.
That's going to be a speeding penalty.
Big
anyway.
speeding penalty.
And then you got to wait for them to put the front wing on. I'm sorry, Vic, your night is over. That's the big smooth move of the race right there.
Yes, it is. Having that issue out of the race lead. A guy that has not had an issue yet is Matt Wagner.
It's not knock on wood. We need drama for this one.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch here. We are down to 15 laps to go, I believe. The gap is now down to yeah, that looks right. About 4 seconds for Matt Wagner over Craig Forsyth. The problem that Wagner has at this point is if he has to make a pit stop, even if it's a splash, he's going to be done and laps down.
Yeah, he's got to just baby the car and really make sure he hits that number.
Yeah, that's going to be absolutely critical. Wagner is in full-time fuel save mode, and the problem is if you're too slow, then the dirty air isn't as big of a problem to overcome for Craig Forsyth. You sort of have to be at speed for the dirty air to really be an issue.
Yes. Going any slower, every bit faster you go, the more air comes off the back of the car. So you go that much slower, your wake is much smaller, and they might just be able to get a move around you on the outside. Either that or just stay close enough to get a big run going down the back straightaway and dive down under you going into turn 3.
I was going to say, you can take the big-time toe and really benefit from that. This gap is closing quickly. James Watson sits third, and he looks to be about 10 seconds back, so not gaining nearly as much ground. However, Watson now sitting in a podium spot, and if Matt Wagner
and Forsyth decide to tangle,
oh, well, if we're going to go for big-time drama, yes. But I'm even just thinking, if Wagner doesn't have enough fuel to make the finish,
that's top 2 for Watson.
That is a massive, massive points night for James.
Especially since Wagner's not going to earn a penny off that. He might get a dime. It's enough for cars a couple laps down.
But yeah, the difference though is you're counting in big bucks versus counting in coins.
Yeah.
That's the important thing there. Is Watson would make up a ton. However, if Matt Wagner is able to make this last, now you could be talking about Nashville as the race where Wagner really solidified his hold on the championship.
I mean, ever since this guy has joined the ESRA series, he's just been... I don't think there's a night that his name isn't mentioned. I mean, he's always up there at the front. As Forsyth is going to make the move.
Forsyth going to look inside into turn number 1. Not quite close enough to make the pass off at turn number 2.
Wagner's going to start having to push that loud pedal down as he cannot. Forsyth is going down to the inside. They're going to be too wide coming out of turn 4.
Oh, man. Into the fence off of 4.
Still able to get the run on the high side. Who is that up there? I know it's
Joseph Morales.
I was going to say, I know it's a Watson car, but...
And Morales has been pretty quick.
This is going to shake up the race for the lead.
This is going to bring James Watson in big time. If they're going to battle side by side like this, that right front tire is a goner on both of these cars if they have to run that hard.
Yeah, Wagner is going to get the clean air coming off of the corners. Unless the lap car decides to just sit right in the middle of the track, Wagner is going to get screwed out of that one, and Forsyth is going to take the race lead.
4 to go at Nashville. Craig Forsyth goes back to the race lead, and he is checking out on Matt Wagner now. Wagner may have to worry about James Watson. The gap is about 5 seconds or so. Yeah, if you look at the shift lights down there towards the bottom of your screen, everybody else is either getting close to topping out or even getting into 6th gear. Wagner's not even getting there. He is...
I was going to say, Wagner needs a caution to come out right now.
I don't think, well, maybe, but...
Caution comes out right now. He's going to be on a fresh set of tires, and he is going to restart 4th. is Wagner shutting the car off down the straightaways or in the turns or something? It almost seems that way. I mean, you're downshifting to
You
fourth
know
and you
what?
got
I
no
don't think
lights.
he's shutting the car off because you would see the dash go out.
That's true. If you kill the ignition,
If he killed the ignition, he would. But he's full clutch and coast. He's trying to Alexander Rossi this thing. White flag is out. 1 lap to go for Craig Forsyth. And James Watson going to come around Matt Wagner.
Matt Wagner does not have enough fuel. He's out.
Out of fuel. He is. Matt Wagner down on the apron of the racetrack.
Oh, and he's got a fast car exiting the pits. Oh, man. Is he getting a push? What is this? Cars?
Oh, we'll see what race control has to say about that. But coming off the final corners, checkered flags are going to come in the air, this time by Craig Forsyth will claim the win and Nashville. James Watson is going to come home second. And Ty Richter giving Matt Wagner the shove. Wagner right now is going to finish in the 4th position.
Oh, man.
We'll see what race control has to say about that, though.
They didn't put danger to any other car on the track. I don't think it's going to be a big issue. I believe it's just going to be, boys, don't ever do that again.
What a run for Alec Coates to come home 3rd tonight as well. Absolutely fantastic drive.
See, now Alec Coates is one of the members of race control. I almost have a feeling if
oh yeah,
Matt...
we're gonna ask.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna ask. If it's not necessarily in the rule book that says you can't do it, does that mean you can? We'll find out from race control.
Now, I wonder if they could throw that in the rules with intentional contact.
Could be. That one is going to be a big one to watch. But let's show you your final race results here is the drone shot following along on Craig Forsyth doing the victory lane donuts.
Love
Forsyth, Watson, Coates, Wagner, Huber, your top 5. Aldridge, Destino, Johnston, Morales, and Brooks will complete the top 10 here this evening. Ty Richter, TJ McMurray, and Navarre Luce will complete tonight's 13-car field. So we'll get ready for some victory lane interviews here in just a moment, but let's get the first we got to get everybody moved around here to get them into the right spots for their interviews. We will be talking to James Watson, Craig Forsyth, and Alec Coates. And let's start things off here with our 3rd place finisher here tonight, Mr. Alec Coates. And I'll tell you what, man, that was a very good drive tonight. Yeoman's work to come home with a podium finish.
Yeah, that was a good one. I'm sure it was not the easiest race to call. Kind of got sprung out there in a very light field for you guys, but nonetheless, on a personal end, good points tonight. And I mean, I had fun. It was fun working with the tools in the car and doing some different stuff. So I can't complain too much.
One of the things that we saw a lot of was it seemed like the aero push was just absolutely massive in these cars. Even if you were able to get within 3/4 of a second of somebody, you really kind of stalled out right there.
Yep, that's extremely accurate. You couldn't really do too much. You could set it up to an extent. I was doing it early on fresh tires, but once those tires got 10, 15 laps in on them, it was kind of just ride around and hope for a mistake in front of you.
One of the things that we have to ask you here now, you got to switch hats for a bit. Put on the race control / league management hat here. Seeing on the one to go, Matt Wagner runs out of fuel. He was pushed to the finish that final lap. Is that permitted under the Grid Rival ESRA IndyCar Series rules?
Honestly, I don't know in an IndyCar that we even have that rule set up, so you might have got away with one. Because I never thought it could even be possible in these cars. So We'll have to talk about it and have a look back at it, but I do like the sportsmanship though. That was kind of cool to see. But
I
as far
was
as
gonna
people that
say,
found behind them, maybe they might be a little more upset than I am.
yeah, I was gonna say you probably would have been a lot more upset. There'd definitely be a new rule in the book if he beat you across the line. But I
It-
I would almost say it should be legal. He didn't cause a danger to anyone else on the track. He stayed below the apron. I say it's all good as long as you don't wreck
It
anyone.
wasn't stupid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it might take some
Nice.
revisiting in the rule book, but overall, I mean, I think it was pretty cool to see, and I didn't even think it could be done in the Israeli for that far. So I got to give it to him, and I think it was Ty pushing him. So um, good
It
for
was
them on hooking up like
was
that.
full shake and bake. That is for sure. Well, congratulations, Alec, on a very nice podium finish here. It's a like you said, it is a huge points night for you as well. So congratulations on that. Let's make sure we get all your sponsor plugs and thank yous in here before we let you go.
Yeah, definitely got to thank you guys for sure, as always, putting it on and putting up with us. Got to thank Thaddeus McMurray. He had a rough night, but he got me a new little scheme out there tonight. He just started painting cars because he thinks it's pretty fun, and I thought it turned out pretty cool with the chrome effects. So, got to give him a shout out there. And then Grid Rival. I don't really know if they're on board totally this year, but they did help us out a lot last year, and they're our main guys. So, pretty sure everybody that makes it run, and hopefully we get a few more cars in the field moving forward. I know this was just a down week. Some people had some other races they committed to, and some honestly didn't like the track too much, which I can't really blame them after running that one. It looked really good on paper. I feel like it could be a really good Indy car, but it's just kind of tough with the setup combo and how these cars drive. So moving
it's
forward, we
almost
got
like
some pretty good tracks coming up on the schedule. So I think we're gonna have some exciting racing for you guys.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that in a very big way. Well, thank you very much there, Alec. We appreciate you checking in the booth here with us. And let's bring in our runner up finisher tonight here, Mr. James Watson. And James, we were just talking to Alec about Ty giving Matt Wagner the shove. And TJ McMurray checking in the comments says, Watson sent a team order to push Wags across the line.
I didn't know. I didn't authorize that. I didn't even know you could push an IndyCar across the line.
Alex said the same
Alex said
exact
the
thing.
exact same thing. He's going, how do you do that?
Yeah, yeah, I'm just happy Wags made it and we were able to score team points because for a while there he didn't get into like right as we were grading, and I'm like, oh no, the team championship.
You know what? The team championship is the big one, but I know the individual drivers championship is very big for you personally. And this is sort of where it's a dichotomy for you because you want the points for Wagner for the team championship. However, that push across the line kept Wagner finishing fourth versus finishing one plus laps down to the field. You're still making up some ground though. You're gonna have a shot at this thing championship wise as we get late in the season.
Yeah, a lot of things are still gonna need to fall my way for me to really be a threat. I can't really bank on that. So, and first, foremost, and forever, whatever benefits the team first, I'll always go for. So, yeah, I could have been like, uh, try not try not to get him to join in and put myself in a great position for the driver championship, but like the team championship means more to me than anything. I want to win the drivers championship for myself really, really bad, but team first.
All right, bud. Well, you got a great team finish here tonight. I want to talk to you a little bit about the pitch strategy here. It seemed like everything was starting to work out in your favor. Matt was going to be ultimately too tight on fuel. Craig was sort of in his own zip code in terms of raw pace. You really had a good little hot rod out there, though.
Yeah, I was really lucky up until like the last few laps before I made my last stop. I had a lot of clean track, and Craig and Victor didn't. So that's what really kept me in the hunt. Unfortunately, all that luck kind of went away at the end, and I wasn't able to keep close. But Yeah, I had a lot of luck to put me in the position of where I was.
It was a very good run for you here tonight, James. So congratulations on picking up another podium finish, eating away at the points just a little bit, doing exactly what you need to do here. Congratulations, and let's make sure we get all the plugs and thank yous in here too before we let you go.
Yes, sir. Gotta thank you and NRN as always. Gotta thank Rocket Racing Setups. Use code Watson15 for 15% off at checkout. Martin Sports, check out their gloves. MartinSports906.com. MTWR Landscaping. And ZAS Designs.
All right, brother. Thank you very much. We appreciate you spending some time with us here after a very, very good runner-up finish this evening. And last one we got to do here. Let's bring them into grid rival victory lane. Craig Forsyth, congratulations. Another, you had a huge points night a week ago. This is another big one. Tell us about it. It seemed like the cars were difficult to drive, difficult to pass, and it really was more of a strategy and race management type event.
I think impossible to pass is a more apt description. It was if you weren't on fresh tires with the other car on ancient tires, it was so hard to get by car. It was hard to get by lap traffic, especially if they didn't want you to get by them.
What's the thought process there then from a driver's standpoint? It almost looked like at one point like you were sort of backing down a little bit, running with Vic, purely because you didn't need to.
Yeah, no, I mean the first stint I was trying to make the fuel numbers like Matt was. I mean I was making them, but I wasn't happy with how much I was having to slow down. So that's where I was falling further and further past behind Victor. And I don't remember if it was a lap 30 or so. I was just like, to heck with this. I'm gonna end up being a lap down if I stay on this strategy. So, and I didn't want to risk that with a caution. So that's when I cranked it back up and caught back up to him. And then yeah, the second stint, I didn't want to risk passing. As I said, it was so hard to pass. So I planned to do the pass in the pit cycle. So on that second pit cycle, that the whole reason I pitted before him was to jump him, and that worked out really well.
So the strategy played out well. The car seemed to be pretty good for you. What else are you thinking here? Obviously, maybe not going to be able to contend for a points championship, but you're definitely heading towards the front here.
Oh yeah, I'm not able to do all the Thursday races, so it's just when get the points I can, and get up here as much as I can, and have fun with all the guys here, because race with all these guys, various leagues, all in and out all the time. So it's a good bunch of guys, and really enjoy the racing.
Yeah, 6 starts now, 6 top 5 finishes, several wins on the season. Doing it well, brother. So thank you very much. Before we let you go here, let's make sure we get all the sponsor plugs and thank yous in too.
Oh, I got to thank the boys over at LMC Gear, lightweight motorcycle camping gear. Good bunch of guys. Jim's a good dude, and he's that's really it. Not I'm ESRA. You guys broadcasting. This is the stuff that makes this fun to do, and makes it good for the folks at home to watch. And without all of that coming together, there wouldn't be anything for people to watch on the YouTube.
Well, it was a lot of fun. Thank you very much. We appreciate that there, Craig. And yeah, let's in summary and summation, passing was anywhere from hard to impossible. And what we got to see tonight really was a quintessential road course race. It was all about strategy, timing out your fuel runs, making the numbers, hitting the fuel mileages. That's still a fun race to get to watch and call. And we saw it late. Matt Wagner missed the number.
Very closely missed a number. I mean, he could have had it if he saved just, I was telling you, an extra lap or two, or a timely caution came out. That was so close.
Yeah, it was all in all not a bad night of racing here tonight at the Nashville Super Speedway. Coming up next week for the Grid Rival ESRA IndyCar Series, they will head off to the Michigan International Speedway for a 200 miler there. and then the Kansas Roval race. Before we take the 2-week break for Christmas and New Year's, I can't believe we're to the end of 2021 already. Coming back next week, Monday night, we return with the iRacing Silver Crown Series for at least a partial, we'll say it that way, season that we're going to be committing to, but also I forget the other series we got on Monday nights now. We got another one. We'll post it up on the socials for you this weekend, tell you all about it. A lot of big stuff coming up. We are right back into regular 12-week schedule racing here on the iRacing platform to kick off 2021 Season 2. Don't forget, you'll see a whole bunch of content coming up tomorrow from the PRI show here in Indianapolis, Indiana. Patrick and I will be roaming the floors and halls and getting up all the cool pictures and everything else for you. Really great show. And it's truly a trade show. So the fans, you basically kind of have to be connected to get an access credential to it. But we'll take you behind the scenes, show you all the latest and greatest and new parts, new driver safety stuff, courtesy of our friends at 34 Motorsports. Just a lot going on here in Indianapolis this weekend. I have to say a huge thank you to Chad Irvine for taking over the production duties this evening for us. As well, quite frankly, he lives out here in Indianapolis and we don't. So he's got the rig at home and he was able to handle producing for us. We really appreciate the help tonight, Chad. Connor Baldwin, as always, fantastic work on the cameras. And Patrick is, well, he's still sitting here next to me. With that, we are getting the heck out of here.
Thanks for the Miller, bud.
For everybody here at the National Racing Network, my name is Chris Graham. It has been a pleasure hanging out with you here. We will talk to you all soon. Have a good night, everybody.